Guys, my name is Ali, and today I'm going to be doing a technical analysis on US stock market indices. This session is going to be actually quite interesting because we get to look at the indices from a monthly perspective as well. Okay, before we get started, just a small disclaimer. Um, this content is my own research and analysis. It is made for entertainment and educational purposes only. I am not an investment advisor. I'm not licensed as to be an investment advisor. If you decide to use any of this research and analysis to place any trades or take on any investments, please refer to your own investment advisor or your own CPA to determine whether or not that the investment taken uh, fits your own risk reward tolerance. Okay, that is very important for an investor. Okay. Before we dive in, we're going to first look at some of the trade alerts that were sent out over the past month to see how those trade alerts, how well they did, right? And then after that, we're going to do technical analysis on the indices, looking at multiple time frames. Okay, so let's jump right in. So one of the trade alerts that was sent on July 9th was Soxal. The target was 1920. TQQQ, the target was 30 to 40. The trade alert was sent on July 9th to be by the end of the quarter. However, it seems that we have already hit this, right? So we're just going to quickly come back here to confirm and validate. And we're going to change this to the daily time frame. Okay. And if we find the date of July 9th of when this was sent out, so July 9th was, I guess it was a weekend. Monday, July 11th, when we opened, the open was 1325. As you can see, we did a small retracement. We went to our support resistance level, and since then we have rocketed upwards, right? So, uh, I hold this for long term that I delta hedge. But here, when I identified, this trade coming in, I opened a swing trade position. I went long at approximately 1350, 1325 zone. I don't remember. And I exited yesterday at $20. Okay. I missed the top of 21. I'm okay with that. I obviously could have bought it cheaper as well. But I don't try to capture the absolute bottom and the absolute top. I focus more so on capturing the meat of the trade. Um, this trade overall, it was approximately a 50% return in 3 weeks, which, it's a pretty darn good trade, in my opinion. Um, if we look at TQQQ, um, it's the same thing on July 9th. The trade alert was sent out July 9th, so Monday, July 11th. Um, we opened at 2720. We dipped down to approximately 2375, and as a confirmation. And since then, we rocketed um, all the way up to 3445 on Monday. Okay. I had entered this trade not on Monday. I got in on Tuesday, approximately at the 2550 level. And I didn't catch the absolute bottom. I focused on the meat of the trade. So I opened my swing position, wrote this up, and I actually closed this on Monday, right? At approximately 34.25 ish, right? 34, ish. That's when I ended up closing this trade. Um, I do think that there is a high possibility of going to 40, but I think for the time being, we have a support resistance We have a demand supply zone sitting on the left hand side. So with that being said, I was pretty content with the run overall, right? Buying in at 24, getting out at 30, buying at approximately 25, getting out at approximately 34. We're talking about a 35% return over 3 weeks. It's a great trade, great return. And again, I was overall content with it. What else was shared over the past month from a trade alert perspective? Technicals show the bottom is in. Only wait is for capitulation. However, we may not even get it because everyone is waiting to buy in. One of Warren Buffett's famous saying is be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. Um, I implement that into my trades overall, right? And that is what was used to call the top, back in December, and that is exactly what I used to call the bottom. Um, at least a short term bottom, right? Uh, for this month, this quarter, I do really believe the short term bottom is in. Around this time, we had a lot of fear amongst the trading communities. There were a lot of negative posts being put on Twitter, as well as just a lot of negative news articles coming out. So to me, the fear was very high, and that meant that we're just going to turn, right. We're going to go up, and so I used a combination of that as well as technical analysis to determine entries and exits, and to determine targets. Okay. Um, let's see what else was kind of called. So if we come back a little bit, on July 17th. Uh, there was okay so for on Bitcoin, on July 17th, I was targeting 17,800. I think a lot of people at the time were saying that the bottom is in. And if we come over to our KuCoin platform, which is used to trade crypto, um, so on July 17th, right, we were sitting at this 20,000, 21,000 mark. There's a lot of sentiment that the bottom is in, because there was a higher high being formed and we were not breaking this previous low. For me, this was not the low. I was targeting 17.8, and you'll notice, immediately over the next few days, the bottom hit. Right, I was off slightly. We hit 17,614, so slightly lower than my target. Um, and the call was that um, once this target is hit, uh, we would have a reversal going to the 25,000, 26,000 area. And if we come back, more or less, that's, what has happened, right? So similar to the NASDAQ and, TQQQ, SLXL, and all other indices, we had a chop with higher lows and higher highs. And as of now, we've gotten approximately to 24,500, which, it's pretty close in my opinion, right? When you run from 17,008 to 25,000, you're talking about a 50% run, which is a phenomenal return for those who took the trade. Since then, we have been shopping, and we'll go into a little bit more detail over the next couple of minutes. Okay. What else is in here? So let's zoom in. Okay. Uh, um, okay. Well, yeah, this is quite interesting. So on December 16th, 2021, this is when I had called the top across the indices, right? ES at that point was used as an example, and as we know, Many of the U.S. indices, they follow similar trends and patterns when you look at it from a long-term perspective. Okay, so the top was called on December 16th, with the possibility of a recession brewing. And lo and behold, here we are, 2 quarters, about 7, 8 months later. And, we are in a quote unquote technical recession. Okay. Um, so if that in itself should be a great reason to subscribe and follow this channel. As you can see, have been pretty darn good with some of the targets and alerts that are generated using technical analysis. Um, okay. So with that being said, let's jump right in. One thing that I like to mention is, um, July ended up being one of the best months since November 2020, which is absolutely phenomenal, considering, you know, uh, even in my weekly analysis, right? I was calling for a significant reversal. If we come to our 626, maybe, um, if we come to our July 4th, right? Um, July 11th, actually, maybe. Yep, here you go. So, kind of in between this July 4th and July 11th, that's when it was identified that we're going to have a massive massive reversal. And that's when overall massive move to the upside were established with a end of quarter target of 35 on TQQQ and end of quarter target of 20 on SOXL. Okay. And that in itself turned into the strongest July since November 2020. So everyone who is part of our subscriber program gets these alerts, and we made an absolute killing over the past month. um, so now, with that being said, let's go back to the drawing board, and let's do our research and analysis to see what we see in our index, to happen over the next couple of weeks, days, weeks, and for the month of August. So overall, um, a sideways channel has been established on the Nasdaq. We have been, forming higher lows and higher highs, right? And we had a channel on the top that was resistance, and we broke it, but now it seems as if we're coming back, within this channel, and it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens, right? Another thing you'll notice is this blue line, one of the moving averages that I use. It was being used as resistance on the way down, which then turned into support, for this section here, which then turned into resistance. And, you'll notice that it has, maintained support resistance throughout, the past few months, right? So with that being said, if we zoom in a little bit into the section, right, you'll notice that for the past for the month of July, it was support, resistance, support, and since then we haven't come back to it. Um, so with that being said, I would say that there is a probability to test this. And if we zoom in a little bit, what is this? This is a price level. Okay, I don't know exactly what this is for. I think I need to maybe label this one a little bit better. But it's quite interesting to see how, if you'll notice this specific section, there are, you know, um, uh, multiple support resistance that have been established, right? So, for instance, I have this red line going across, I have this white line coming across, I have an alert, as well as one of the moving averages. So, in my opinion, for now, this would definitely be a target that I would want to consider. Um, but let's look at some other time zones. So, if we look at it from a weekly basis, okay. Um, so from a weekly perspective, this blue line being a moving average, it changes based on the time frame being used. That's why you see it slightly higher. Um, the Wow, okay. So the weekly closing above this moving average, it would be considered a bullish sign, because if we go back, you'll notice that since February, once we broke below this blue, um, even though we came to test it at one point, we failed. This is only the second time, right, that we have come to test it. So, this is going to be extremely important to track for this week, to see if we are able to maintain this support resistance and close above, or are we going to come back down? Okay. And let's look at it from a monthly perspective. So, from a monthly perspective, as mentioned, July 2020 has been one of the best months since, July 2022 turned to be one of the absolute best months to be long, since November 2020. And I think overall, with that being said, um, you know, I would at least hope and want to see the bullish sentiment remain, right? As more and more people log into their accounts to see their balances for how their portfolios have performed over the month of July. This is going to be a very positive, you know. Just a very positive outlook for them, and it may trigger a buy the dip, right? So if we pull back and do a retracement, right, on the monthly, um, my assumption would be that it would be more so of a buy the dip to continue the trend higher. Um, And of course, technicals change on a day-to-day basis. There are obviously some geopolitical, items involved as well when it comes to trading. So, we just have to monitor those to see if, the technical analysis from today holds true throughout the month. Um, but obviously, when we look at it from a daily perspective, we do notice that, a top is being formed, right? Um, we have a lower high and a lower low on the daily, with the tweezer tops, right? Which is, it's considered a bearish technical sign, a bearish, a bearish formation. But again, with the massive green that we've had over the past month, and not just the fact that it was green, but the fact that we had liquidation breaks throughout the process, right? It was a choppy wave up with a combination of fear and greed. Okay, um, I think that even if we do get a pullback, right? Um, as of now, I do not think that we would come back to the bottom, at least. Okay, um, so for myself personally, Um, I'm waiting for a dip, right? I'm delta hedged on my long-term positions and my swing trades. I exited, like previously mentioned, and I'm waiting for some type of dip, right? Um, Not too much, obviously, but I think we should at least see a lower low, right? At least maybe retest this 800 mark, maybe even retest this 750 or 650 zone. And the reason for that because is we had a massive demand and supply zone on the left hand side here. Um, so I don't expect us to just break it and continue higher, right? I think that we would have at least some type of choppy action, right? Some sideways action in this zone. And, I'm going to be using this sideways action to essentially rebuild a swing trade position and to potentially even add to my long term holdings. Or, you know, uh, um, a slightly longer swing trade position. Um, and the reason for that being is, you know, if we look at this supply zone, you'll notice that um, the height of this was approximately 13,000. Sorry, 12,950. And though we have been constantly getting rejected at this 13,000 level, I like to think of it as a brick wall, right? So, what happens to a brick wall when you're constantly using a sledgehammer against it? Eventually, that brick wall does break and you break through. Okay. Um, with that being said, if we look at some of the other technicals, right? My Chaikin is above zero, my MACD is above zero, my RSI is fairly stable. It's not in the overbought and or in the oversold zone. Um, so, with that being said, uh, you know, even though there could be a pullback, right, to retest some of this area, I think it'll be more so of a buy the dip with a continuation upwards to the next, demand and supply zone, which is in the, which is above the 13,000 into the 13,500 area, and then after that it's in the 13,000 550 600 up to the 14,250 zone. um, if we zoom out slightly, right, the last bear market rally that we had this year, we came to the white line, right, this white moving average, and that's where we got rejected. So from a technical perspective, we have not tested this moving average for several months now. So the expectation would be that if we do drop, it'll be again by the dip with the continuation of us moving higher. Okay. Uh, let's look at our ES. Oh, actually, let's look at Soxel because that's another big one that I trade. Right. So SOX is the index for Soxel. It is following a very similar pattern to the Nasdaq, right, where we made a low, and since then we have been trending higher, and we have been moving up and going higher and higher and forming lower highs and higher highs. Okay. Similar to the Nasdaq in Q3, we had went above this white moving average. So again, the expectation would be that with this bull run, right, with this bear market rally that we're having, the expectation would be the same. That we could potentially come up to this moving average as a retest confirmation, right? As to what should happen next. Um, if we zoom in a little bit and let's look at it from a monthly perspective. Okay, so from a monthly perspective, we did not form a bullish pattern. So I think that becomes a little questionable. But hey, wow! Look at the coincidence. This blue moving average on the monthly is approximately 3250, and if I come back to my daily, the white moving average is approximately 3300. So that means there are several magnets that are there. And if we look at it from a weekly perspective, we have another moving average at approximately 3300. So, I consider these as magnets, right? These moving averages, and especially when we have multiple moving averages, um, uh, lining up, right, on multiple time frames, then in my opinion, the magnet and or that range becomes stronger. Okay, if we look at the 2 day, again we have the 3250. So it seems as if this 3250, 3300 area could definitely be a very solid target for uh, SOX, right, the semiconductor index. Okay. Um, so, overall, that's all I have for today. So please subscribe, like, comment, and share. If you have any questions, any feedback, please make sure you put them below, and I'll try to respond to them. If there is anything else that you want to see or any other videos you want me to create, please let me know, and I will try my best to do those for you guys. Once again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and best of luck trading. Thanks. Bye.